What smoking all my dragons, divine righteous, almighty greats, overachieving, never slacking. Now, today I just wanted to talk about a story that I came across that has really, it's super disturbing, but it's pretty much been on my mind since I watched the movie. The movie I watched was called An American Crime about 16-year-old Sylvia Likens, and her and her sister Jenny Likens had went to go stay. Like her parents, they were carnival workers, and they sent them to go stay with, I guess, a family friend, someone they didn't even know like that. And this lady, her name was I don't, it was like Gertrude or something like that. This lady had her own kids. She was already struggling. So when she took on Sylvia and her sister, she didn't even have the proper necessities to take care of them. She was counting on Sylvia and Jenny's parents, to pay her, I guess, like $20 a week, right? So when the payments started coming short, she started taking it out on Sylvia and Jenny. Now, she started to really target Sylvia, like specifically her, and say that, Sylvia was spreading lies about her daughter, her oldest daughter, or I think it was her oldest daughter, one of her older daughters, and just causing problems. So she started to torture this girl. Um, to really make a long story short, she had her in the basement. She she made her, take it was a Coca-Cola bottle, and like do sexually humiliating things with it, stripping her naked in front of people, um, you know, burning her with cigarettes, putting her cigarettes out on this girl. I mean, just severe things. And she even convinced the kids in the neighborhood to participate, which blows my mind that none of these kids would like go tell their parents. And even the neighbors heard Sylvia screaming, and nobody did anything, right? This personally messes with me because, it's, when you're young, especially as a child, um, all you want to do is really be protected. You want to know you're safe. Now, clearly, it was something about Sylvia and Jenny that this lady seen, where she knew that she could take advantage of them. Because, like, not every 16-year-old. I mean, there's some 16-year-olds that that they would have gave her a run for her money, seriously, And for all we know, Sylvia did, and it's just not spoken about. But the girl was definitely a fighter. I'm not taking that away from her, because for her to even survive that long, and I know she had gave it one last try and tried to like run away, but the Gertrude lady caught her, and they brought her back in the house. I mean, but the reason why the story is just so, it's devastating. It's a devastating story because Sylvia, she was screaming for help, and like people were like, the neighborhood. My bad, guys. I accidentally knocked something over, but she was screaming for help, and the neighborhood didn't come to the rescue like they should have. And this happened in Indiana, Indianapolis. Um, but for the neighbors, what gets me is how could the neighbors, how could people just fail this girl? Um, that's what bothers me so much, is that she could have been saved. And even her sister Jenny, she was so, I guess, scared that she didn't do what she could have did to save her sister. And whew, man, if I could go back in time, I would have told Sylvia, look, if I could be a voice in her head back in those days, I would have said, look, you take your sister and y'all run away. Y'all just go. Y'all go. You know, if the police ain't willing, if y'all can't go, just go somewhere else, because y'all would have been better off just surviving on the street somewhere than being tortured by this lady. And she let her kids join in too. Kids in the neighborhood were paying $20 to like throw her down the stairs. They were using her as like judo sessions. throwing her body around. I mean, just completely obliterating this girl, giving her scorching hot baths, boiling water. I mean, like, and from what I hear, like, what really happened is even worse than what happened in the movie. So, I I just felt like it was important to raise awareness. And I'm pretty much I'm pretty much putting out a CTA, a call to action, that if you see something weird, don't just ignore it all the time. I'm not saying be a superhero, but if you see something, a kid, and you see bruises and or you hear screaming, calls for help, yeah, you should definitely pay attention so situations like this don't continue to occur. This is a very, very, very heartbreaking story, and she died in 1965. But it still hits as if it happened yesterday. So dang, when I look at that situation, it just feels, like spiritual warfare. Like something about her was targeted, and even for the neighborhood to just to pitch in on her suffering, the neighborhood kids, and she had gotten, with a razor blade, had gotten I don't even want to say the words, just real messed up words, just carved into her. It seems like spiritual. It sounds like spiritual warfare to me, especially for the Gertrude lady. When she did go to prison, she ended up getting out in 20 years. She still ended up getting out and living for 5 years until she died from like lung cancer. But that's another interesting thing, is a lot of people that were involved died early. So, yeah, there definitely was a curse on them. But man, it just bothers me, because I feel like kids should always be protected, no matter what. People, period, should be protected, but specifically kids, because kids are still undeveloped. Even though she was 16, and me at 16, I was already out there. At 16, I was already, like, at 16, Gertrude wouldn't even have stood a chance with someone like me, and that's just the truth. Just my thought process. But we all come up different. That's not to glorify myself. We all come up different, and clearly she wasn't targeting young men. She targeted young women who clearly were probably sweethearts and just didn't have much, like, I guess, in a sense, like, street knowledge. More, didn't have that certain common sense to be able, they were raised a certain way, where they probably in their mind thinks that just didn't see that reality, and that Gertrude lady knew that and took advantage of that, right? So, because I seen many opportunities even in the movie where they could have just, it's just certain things they could have did to prevent a lot of things, and they didn't take enough action, and that's what hurts too. So let me play this clip on this news channel real quick, remembering murder of Sylvia Likens.
Tomorrow marks 50 years since the gruesome torture and murder of Sylvia Likens. The 16-year-old was found October 26, 1965, dead and mutilated at the hands of her caretaker. 24-hour News 8's Howard Monroe is here now with how friends and family are remembering the young girl, Howard.
Yeah, Brooke, at the trial, they called this case the single worst crime perpetuated against an individual in Indiana's history. Family and friends said today at their gravesite that if history isn't learned, we are doomed to repeat it.
This is in your honor. We love you so, we miss you. And I will see you again someday.
A memorial service for 16-year-old Sylvia Likens, killed.
And that right there, I'm pretty sure it's her oldest sister, Debbie, who was around like 18 at the time, speaking.
We'll see you again someday.
A memorial service for 16-year-old Sylvia Likens, killed by her caretaker.
Thank you all for loving her. And you, by being here, you love
Diana, sorry, not Debbie, Diana.
her.
It's an honor.
Thank you so much.
It was an honor.
Diana Bedwell is Sylvia's sister. About 50 people crowded into Oak Hill Cemetery in Lebanon this afternoon. Some holding flowers, some holding on to each other. All of them holding Sylvia in their hearts.
I feel as if I've known her all my life. I really can't explain it. It's a spiritual thing.
Sylvia was found tortured in this.
Crazy, he said it's a spiritual thing, and that's what I literally was saying. It's something spiritual, but something about this, just something about this.
Home on East New York Street. Her parents left her in the care of Gertrude Banaszewski. Just a month later, she was dead.
Gertrude made her a prisoner. Gertrude encouraged others to physically abuse her, to emotionally abuse her, and she abused her.
Banaszewski was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. But after less than 20 years in prison, she was granted parole and released.
And to know that you're responsible for taking someone's life is real hard to live with.
Banaszewski died 5 years later.
I love you, sis.
Back at the cemetery, Bedwell and her attorney, Gloria Allred, say the family didn't know of Sylvia's torture. Even 50 years later, the scars of what her sister went through are still there.
The love and the heartache is still there, you know. The knowledge of what she went through is still there.
And this did spark changes in Indiana's child abuse laws. It's been the law since 1972 that anyone who believes child abuse is occurring must report it to police. And Brooke, today I was told today by Sylvia's sister that people heard that girl screaming from 4 houses away and did nothing.
Unbelievable. I remember reading the court documents. It is just gut-wrenching.
It is. The details you just really can't get into in television.
Thanks, Howard.
Yeah.
Well, Diana Bedwell, who you saw in Howard's story, herself made headlines earlier this year. She and her husband were stranded for 2 weeks in the Southern California wilderness. 70-year-old Cecil Knutson died. Officials say the couple got lost while trying to find a shortcut after leaving a casino.
Just crazy. When you see that Gertrude lady, I don't believe her for 1 second. Certain people are targeted. This is what I'm trying to say. Like, and I like how the guy said it's just something spiritual, where he felt like he'd known her his whole life. I really do feel like that is her spirit. Just, it's like something. Like something is just out there, like a horn was blown from her spirit, where it's like those who gonna feel it, like it was like she was targeted, and it was a spiritual warfare kind of thing. Like if you ever seen a movie called Insidious 4, where they like this lady astral projects. Long story short, her father used to abuse her, and he was a murderer, and when she astral projected, went out of her body. Which people, when they have near-death experiences, they do things, they go through similar experiences. She went to this realm, this hell state, where she seen her father was in this, like, these cells, and he was controlled by this entity. And when her father's spirit seen her, he said, I'm sorry. Whole time it was the entity controlling him. So I feel like this Sylvia case, it was something similar to that. Where this is like, but it also still obviously has to be something about that person to even be able to get controlled like that. They have to be in like a dark space, a lower frequency, which Gertrude was, because I'm not going to make any excuses here for anybody. People are, but it's something about them that attracts certain entities, is what I'm trying to say. So make sure you stay on a high frequency to everybody. But she know exactly what she know, that's just insane. And I'm sure she's paying for it as we speak. I'm sure she'll be paying for it maybe for the next who knows how long. But man, once again, that's my CTA, my call to action. Everybody, just pay attention, because as a man, I even look over kids. If there's a kid around me, I'm even just extra aware. So I just don't understand how her father could do that. Just leave her parents. Period. Just leave with this lady. Didn't from what I hear, he didn't even check around the house. He didn't double check nothing. She knew the Gertrude. She knew she had full advantage. And she took full advantage in the worst, most disgusting way possible. But with that being said, guys, much love to you all. Everybody stay safe. And let me know what you think in the comments. Rest in power to the soul of Sylvia Likens. I've seen a couple videos where people are like doing their paranormal investigations, saying they feel like her spirit is still stuck there, which is possible. But also, you guys got to understand energy signatures. And we do we can leave prints on things, whether bad or good. So when something horrible happens, that energy signature is still there, and you could be picking up on that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that her soul is there. Her soul may be somewhere else, right? But that energy signature may still just be imprinted around because of how serious that was, and how powerful that situation was, you know. But powerful, disturbingly powerful. But once again, everybody stay safe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will talk to you soon. Everybody enjoy your day, and just be aware. Just be aware. That's my call to action. Much love, guys.